Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Josh, and this is your stimulus check update for the next stimulus package for Friday, October 2nd. I hope everyone is off to a good and safe start to their Friday so far, and that you all have a wonderful weekend ahead. In this video, I'll be discussing both the first and second stimulus check. I'll also be discussing unemployment, what needs to happen for Mnuchin and Pelosi to finally reach an agreement, and then I'll be wrapping up this video by answering some of the comments and questions that I received in my previous video. But first, if you wouldn't mind real quickly liking this video, give me a big thumbs up. It really just helps with the YouTube algorithm in terms of pushing this video out to other viewers like you, and hopefully helping other people like you as well. Okay, so we are now down to just 6 states who still haven't started sending out the $300 federal plus-up to their residents yet. These states include Alaska, Kansas, Nevada, New Jersey, Virginia, and Wisconsin. We should expect that all 6 of these states should begin paying out in lump sum payments by the end of this month, which is still pretty bad considering most states have already depleted their funds already. These 6 states should have been paying out several weeks ago, but it is what it is. Either way, the benefits for most states have already run out, so now we can only hope that Congress can finally reach a bipartisan agreement to extend these benefits, whether it's $400 per week or $600 per week, on a longer term, more stable basis. In stimulus related news, Nancy Pelosi and Stephen Mnuchin once again spoke over the phone, where again, they were close, but they couldn't quite bridge the gap. With Mnuchin being given permission by the White House to increase their offer to get a deal done, he has since raised the offer up to $1.6 trillion. In the bill suggested by Mnuchin, there is roughly $300 billion going towards another round of stimulus checks. That would mean each qualifying American would receive another round of $1,200 checks, and dependents would receive an additional $500. Additionally, there would be $150 billion going towards education and $75 billion going towards virus testing. $60 billion would go towards rental assistance, $50 billion would go towards health providers, and another $50 billion towards vaccines. Moreover, $25 billion would go towards childcare, $15 billion towards rural broadband, and $13 billion towards paid leave. And finally, the two biggest disagreements still, $300 billion going towards a federal unemployment extension at $400 per week, in addition to $250 billion towards state and local governments. So all in all, this was a pretty sound offer. However, it's still not good enough for Nancy Pelosi, as she's holding firm to her $2.2 trillion offer. Pelosi continues to reiterate that she does not believe that something is better than nothing when it comes to the next relief bill. She either wants the entire pie or nothing at all. The House Speaker also said that Republicans simply don't share the same values as Democrats do when discussing the need to provide trillions of dollars in health and economic relief to Americans. She said that Stephen Mnuchin has refused to approve even $1 in new spending as far as child tax credits go, while Democrats are seeking tens of billions of dollars for the initiative. So even though the two sides are still roughly $600 billion apart, at least they're closer. The problem is, we still haven't seen any signs of Pelosi being willing to lower her offer anymore. Since she's already come down from the $3.4 trillion in the HEROES Act, Pelosi believes that she's already compromised enough by coming down to $2.2 trillion. Stephen Mnuchin has also signaled that he would be unwilling to touch $2 trillion, which also means he could possibly go even higher, potentially meeting Pelosi in the middle at $1.9 trillion. But again, we haven't seen any signs of Pelosi being willing to go any lower than $2.2 trillion, and even if she did, it might be a hard sell to other Republicans. In fact, many Republicans are already pushing back against Mnuchin's $1.6 trillion offer that was declined by Pelosi. Representative Kevin Brady, for example, said he's unsure if he can go along with a $1.6 trillion deal, criticizing the $400 per week in unemployment benefits. Brady questioned how much wasteful spending we'll have to swallow to do this. Senator Chuck Grassley said that anything above $1 trillion would be difficult, as there is a lot of pushback among Republicans to going above $1 trillion, and even $1 trillion is really difficult. As I mentioned in prior videos, Mitch McConnell has said over and over that there are at least 20 Republicans in the Senate unwilling to vote on additional stimulus, so if you're going to try pushing a bill close to $2 trillion through a Republican-controlled Senate, good luck. You're going to need President Trump and Mitch McConnell to do a lot of convincing to get enough approvals from the Republicans in the Senate. But I guess it is possible they may get just enough to pass any bill through if they can agree to something. Now, Mitch McConnell has largely remained absent from talks, but he did say that he wished them well, as he would like to see another rescue package. With Election Day being less than 5 weeks away, you'll have to hope that they'll have a deal in place by next week for a chance of this happening. Lawmakers in Washington are eager to get this bill passed so they can go back and focus on campaigning for their re-election. And quite frankly, if they want to stand the best chance at even being re-elected, it's going to be vital for them to come together and reach a compromise on this next bill. Back on March 27th, President Trump signed the CARES Act, which ended up being the first relief package where Americans received stimulus checks. Since then, we've seen some other small packages, but nothing incredibly significant. I've seen firsthand the frustration of Americans, and you can just take a look at the comment section of these videos or on different message boards. They're seeing other countries such as Canada give their residents $2,000 per month, and all we've been able to give is a one-time $1,200 stimulus payment. Now, these are two completely different countries. We have a much larger population than they do, and we also had a more generous unemployment system in place, but still, the frustration is there. Americans are struggling, families are struggling, 6 months have passed since the last stimulus checks were sent out, and if not for Trump's executive order to extend the federal unemployment benefits for another 4 to 6 weeks using the funds from FEMA, those would have been expired for 2 months now. It's simply ridiculous that politicians are being paid the money that they do to sit and bicker like children and not get anything done. And I understand that it's hard. The two sides have two completely different viewpoints, but that's why you need to learn the art of compromise. This my way or the highway approach is not going to settle any dispute. We need to have Secretary Mnuchin, Mitch McConnell, Nancy Pelosi, and Chuck Schumer sit down in a room and stay in that room until they work something out. It's nonsense and inexcusable for them to continue to point fingers and make a political game out of this situation. Remember, our lawmakers aren't the ones going through a tough time right now. They're not facing eviction. They're not living paycheck to paycheck. If they don't compromise, they don't suffer any consequences. So, in my opinion, it's time for them to come down to earth, gain some perspective on what's going on, and pass whatever bill they can. Americans needed additional aid months ago. In the meantime, since we have no control over the situation, all we can continue to do is stay strong, keep our hopes high, and hope for the best. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to move right along to some updates on the first round of stimulus payments. If you haven't filed a tax return within the last 2 years and you're not on Social Security benefits, then you'll have just a couple more weeks to fill out the non-filers tool in order to receive your stimulus payment. The deadline for that is October 15th, so I would go ahead and quickly do that today. Now, for those of you who have spouses who owed past due child support, so you had your payment garnished also, then you should be receiving your payment over the next month or so. If you filled out the injured spouse allocation form, you should have already received your payment by now. However, even if you never filled that form out, the IRS recently noted that you should still be receiving your payment very, very soon. So, in the meantime, hang in there. Your payment will be coming before you know it. Finally, if you still haven't received your payment and you believe that you should have gotten it by now, I would first check in with family members just to make sure that they didn't claim you as a dependent on one of their recent tax returns. Now, if you're 100% positive that you weren't claimed as a dependent, then at that point I would go ahead and check the payment portal, or you can call the IRS at 1-800-919-9835. The payment portal is probably your best resource, but the IRS may be able to give you some more additional details. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video by answering some of the comments and questions that I received in my previous video. In most of my videos, I do try to answer as many of the comments and questions as I possibly can, so please feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below, and I will definitely try to get to it. Now, with some of the more popular questions, I usually try to answer them in the next video in video form. Okay, so without further ado, let me go ahead and jump into the first comment of today's video, which is from Lutricia. Lutricia says, do you have to pay child support on the next stimulus check? Okay, so this is a bit of a tricky one. In the CARES Act, as you know, those of you who had past due child support had their payments garnished. However, in the Democrats' new bill, they make it so those with past due child support would not have their payments garnished this time around. However, that can definitely change, as we saw in a recent Republican bill. They made it so stimulus payments would be garnished if you had past due child support. With that said, it's my best guess that in the end, it will end up being the same as in the CARES Act, where stimulus payments were garnished for those with past due child support. However, I will definitely keep you updated if and when anything happens to change. Okay, moving right along to the next question of today's video, which is from Tiffany. Tiffany says, "Hey Josh, I'm on disability. Will I get a stimulus check?" Thank you so much for your question, Tiffany. And yes, people on disability and other Social Security benefits will receive the second stimulus check. In fact, everyone who received the first stimulus check will also get the second one, in addition to many people who missed out on the first round of checks, such as those claimed as dependents. The only likely reason you'll end up missing out on the next round of stimulus payments is if you make too much income, and the income eligibility will be the exact same as the first round of checks were. This, of course, will also be based on the last year of tax returns, so it'll be how much money you made in 2019. And of course, like I just mentioned, if you're above the age of 17 and you were claimed as a dependent, you're more than likely going to receive $500 if they do end up passing this next bill. Alright, so on that note, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video. If you did enjoy the content in this video and you'd like to see more videos like it, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. It is completely free to do so, and it's a great support to me. Also, if you'd like to receive one free stock from Webull, valued all the way up to $1,600, please feel free to claim that free stock by clicking the link in the description box below. And until next time, I'll see you guys, and I hope you have a great day today.